In 2010, Julie Beck said, "Women are like lionesses at the gate of the home. Whatever happens in that home and family happens because she cares about it and it matters to her. She guards that gate and things matter to that family if they matter to her."
Welcome, everyone, to the Lioness at the Door podcast, where we discuss timely, healthy habits in our thinking, planning, and doing as we each stand as lionesses at the door of our homes and lives. We are two regular girls talking about daily challenges from a gospel perspective. And my name is Jackie Sorensen, and I am a holistic health coach. I'm a mom and grandma and wife and daughter and friend and all those things. And I'm here with my friend Amy.
Hey everyone, I'm Amy Rasmussen. As you know, if you've been listening, I'm a teacher by profession, a wife and mother by choice, an optimist by nature, and happy by design. We are so thrilled to have you with us today. Last week, if you got to join us, we talked about a powerful tool, the powerful tool of declarations. Let me just give you a real quick synopsis and refresher. Declarations, or making a declaration, is the practice of intentionally choosing words to rehearse and even memorize to give ourselves strength and perspective. They can also be used to build our faith and our dedication to truth, which is the knowledge of things as they really are. Jackie was able to explain what they are and how to use them, and today we get to talk about one option for how to create them. And the thing that came to mind for me today, as I've been thinking about declarations in the past that I may have made without realizing it, is that back when I was in my 20s, I took a quarter off of school. That's back when there were quarters. And I chose to substitute teach because I was going into the profession of teaching. And my dad said, "You might want to have some experience in the classroom before you fully commit to that." So what I discovered is that each time I got the automated phone call, I felt pretty terrified because I was barely out of, high school myself. I was fairly young. And what I found is, I was generally okay once I got there, but that call was terrifying. And so I made what I called an executive decision. And it's basically when I say to myself, it is okay to be nervous, scared to death even, every single time you get a call, but it is not okay to let that control you. So kind of the idea of feel the fear, do it anyway, or whatever. But the thing that was so helpful there is I was having a challenge to actually accept substitute teaching jobs. Yeah. And so I had to come up with a way to deal with that so that I could still feel the feeling, and yet I could act in a way that was true to myself and true to the whole reason I had taken a quarter off of school, of the university. So with that said, Jackie, can you explain to us how recognizing the challenges in our lives can help us create declarations that will be powerful and meaningful and helpful?
Yes. So this is the most straightforward way to do it because our challenges are really that beautiful thing in life that is giving us resistance, right? It's saying, you haven't learned this thing yet. And here's an opportunity to learn it. Let you know kind of where you are and what you need help with, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you take a challenge that you're facing, say you're having a struggle with one of your children and you are wanting to see yourself differently in that relationship. Maybe you've been habitually irritated by that child, or even angry, or completely perplexed and have no idea what to do next. A declaration that could be supportive to you is, I am a loving mother. Now, sometimes when people are writing declarations based on their challenges, they feel like it is disingenuous. Oh, that's not really the case. Right. I'm not really because I have all this evidence that I yelled at that kid, that I'm irritated at that kid, that I'm, don't even want to be around them.
So how could a loving mother possibly, right? That kind of thinking.
Right. But the idea is that we rehearse the negatives all the time, and we don't think we're being disingenuous.
Right. We just believe it.
We just believe it.
Yep.
So I just want to submit that there is that potential of feeling a little bit off in the positive direction, but it's not fair not to give the positive a chance.
Right.
Because we're listening to the negative all the time and rehearsing it until it is so a part of us and so automatically comes to our minds. That's what we're trying to do, is reverse that. We want to reverse engineer that. We want the positive to come automatically to our minds instead of the negative. And we know it's possible because we've done it. We've already done it. We've already rehearsed all the garbage over and over until it just, without our even thinking about it, it jumps to us. So we want to make the positive, and it actually does work. You can get to the point after rehearsing declarations where the positive jumps to your mind in a heartbeat, just in a flash, it's there.
It becomes your default position.
Yes, it does. And I promise you it works. It does take effort. It does take energy. It does take determination, but it does work.
I'm thinking of the example. Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
Okay, I'm just thinking of the example that you gave. And I think if we're having a hard time feeling like we can say, I am a loving mother, because all the evidence apparently is showing that we're not, I think just to remember, someone who's not a loving mother isn't going to be like, I want to change. I don't want to be irritated with that child. I want to make a change. And that desire to make a change means I am a loving mother.
Yes.
And I'm learning.
Yes.
I'm learning how to make my actions match with the feeling I have inside of me.
Right. The desire is there.
Yes. And that desire means, yes, I am a loving mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing that the declarations then need to go from there to also things like, I use a calm voice with my child. I use a loving voice, or whatever it is, right? Whatever you identify. Or I notice the good that my child does.
Yes.
I notice the loving things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing it's a starting point that I am a loving mother,
mm-hmm.
to taking you to being able to recognize other challenges with that child, for example, mm-hmm. and to create another declaration that helps with that challenge and their building blocks. That's kind of how I'm visualizing it.
Definitely. And one of the things that we can do when we recognize we have a challenge in one of our relationships, and I think most of the challenges we're going to come up with are going to do with relationships. That's what makes the world go round, right?
Well, even a relationship with ourselves, frankly, right? So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, our relationship to ourselves, our relationship to God.
Yep.
Whatever. They're all around. One of the things that the principles of unconditional love teach us is that we don't behave badly when we feel good. We don't behave badly when we feel loved. So one of the things, if we recognize that we're behaving badly, like for instance, I'm responding to this child in a really negative way, that is a red flag to me that I need to gather love into my life. Not necessarily with that child. Aside from that,
right,
that's just showing me, this is back to the idea we talked about last week about mirrors. That's just showing me that I'm not full. I'm not in a state of belief about my being loved and valued. And so I need to practice. And here's another opportunity for declarations. A declaration could be, I tell the truth about myself to my loving friends. I feel unconditionally loved by my friends, or by my parent, or by my spouse, or by God. I feel unconditionally loved by God. God loves me. That's a declaration. That's a powerful, maybe one of the most powerful declarations we could write. I am loved and valued by God. no matter what, no matter
Right.
what mistakes I make,
Yep.
I am loved and valued by him. That's the fortification that we need in order to behave better, in order to be more loving in the ways that we're, is becoming obvious to us where our limitations are currently.
Mm-hmm.
But it all comes from, according to the lens of unconditional love, comes from the fact that I'm not feeling it as fully as I need to. And so I'm going to be proactive again. I'm going to be an agent, and I'm going to choose to be with people that I trust can have the ability to see the truth about me
Mm-hmm.
and also to love me. And that builds the evidence in my mind that I am lovable, even while I'm making mistakes. And that is then the gift that we want to give our child is, I love you even when you behave badly. And the message that we can give them, that message when we teach them and correct them sometimes without being angry at them and without being irritated, using anger and irritation as the teacher,
Right.
or as the consequence, right?
Yeah.
Because that's just a withdrawal of our love. So it illustrates, it shows us that we are in need, and then we can use this tool, the declaration tool, to build our reserve, to build our love tank, so that in our interactions with that child, we really can be loving toward them.
But I like this idea that really, in order to be able to write these declarations and have the energy or the wherewithal to come up with them and all of this, we do need to spend time in those relationships that can fill us with love as we are being honest with ourselves. And I know that some people are going to feel just great about having God be that relationship. Other people struggle with feeling of worth before their Heavenly Father, right? That's something they're growing into. They're trying to learn it. But they may have someone here in the here and now on earth, right? A sibling or a good friend who they can sit with. And the person who comes to mind for me here is actually my sister. I only have one sister, but she has said to me before, I just feel like I can share it all with you. She's like, I'm telling you the worst stuff about me.
Yeah.
And I just know that you still love me. So it gives her a safe place in the sibling relationship, the sister relationship, to be able to process those things. That it's not like she's saying, these are awesome, these are okay. She's just saying, this is how it is right now. Or this is what I did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she can process it because she's in this situation of safety and of love, right. And it allows her to then to go back out. And right. In one of our earlier podcasts, I talked about behaving badly and how I recovered. But one of the things I was able to do is I was able to talk to a few of those friends that you talked about and just say, I am not happy with how I behaved in this situation toward this other person. Mm-hmm. And I need to say to someone, like, I need to tell you what happened. I need to say I'm not happy with it. And yet I had no question that my best friend from high school, who's married to my brother, would listen to me, and she'd give me the grace I needed, and she wouldn't think I was a horrible villain who should just crawl under a rock. So it's really powerful to make use of those relationships that we have to be able to then get to a point where we now have the love, we're filled with the love, that we can now use for ourselves to write those declarations. Yeah. And to start at the simplest form. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought, as you said, I am a loving mother. In almost every mother-child situation, that declaration could be the one to start with, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing I am a loving spouse could be a great one to start with in a relationship, right? There's just some foundational ones. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes we need strength just to employ the tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it really is doing this, using this tool really is an act of faith. You really have to throw your faith out ahead of you.
Yes, you do. I guess
Because
that's always with faith, right? That is the nature of faith. It always gets
that is
thrown out ahead of
out
you.
ahead of you.
Yes.
Yeah, it gives you the courage though to try. And if you haven't had experience with it, it is an act of faith because you don't know yet. You don't know if that works. And maybe you might look foolish, or you might think of yourself as foolish, rehearsing something. I put my declarations on the inside of my medicine cabinet door.
Mm-hmm.
And quite often, my spouse will come in as I'm brushing my teeth, getting ready for bed. He will come in and he will see me, and I am stretching and I'm speaking and I'm doing my self-care things, but I'm rehearsing these words as I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes in and smiles. And he's used to it. He knows this is the routine,
Yep.
But I imagine that maybe it's a little bit comforting thinking my spouse is exercising her creative power in a positive way. And I imagine that maybe that's a little bit of security. Like she's not cowering in the corner feeling victimized by life.
Right.
Like she has done that. I've seen her do that.
Right.
But she's not doing it right now.
Right.
And this is a lot.
How could a spouse not have seen that?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
this is a lot more comforting
right.
Scenario. I like this one better.
Right. Well, and I think too, obviously he could see your declarations, right? They're written right there. It's not like they're in some other language. And I think seeing in words the desire of someone you love,
Mm-hmm.
and recognizing that is where they're headed, that is what they're trying to do in their imperfect way, I think it can also give the other person a greater ability to extend that grace and to have patience, because you know all the ins and outs of this other person when we're talking about a spouse relationship.
Yes.
And you've seen the ugly, you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so in those moments where you can say, okay, even if we're having the ugly over here for a second, I know that her desires or his desires are these other things, right? And
Right.
that's what he or she is striving for. And
Right.
that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And the grace that is extended by a spouse who knows you better than anyone in the world.
Yep.
That's the closest thing I think that we have to a godly relationship, where that person knows you inside and out. There's no question. There's no question. And the grace is continuing to be offered consistently. And I mean, yeah, it's not a straight shot. It's not, we never make mistakes. Of course we do. But it's kind of this, I'm going up. It's not a straight line. It's waving, but it's in that direction. It's going.
Right. That's a right general.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I hope that this tool, I hope that you listening will be able to just take a little tiny step. If you haven't used it before, take a little baby step. Think of just one. A really beautiful, lovely one that we talked about before is, I am loved, or God loves me, or my spouse loves me, or whatever. That is a really good start. That's the seed of all the rest.
Mm-hmm. And that can be used for any challenge.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, for sure. It's a good place to start.
Yeah. So I like this idea of a place to start being, I am loved. If you listened last week and you did pay attention to negative thoughts coming in, because I think this is where the declaration needs to happen. It's great if you use it at the beginning of the day, but then if negative thoughts come in, you never think, I am loved, then it can't be as powerful, right? So the idea is that if negative thoughts come in during the day, you can stop them and you can use that very basic declaration of I am loved to then deal with whatever the situation is. If, however, you want to go a little further and look at your challenges and come up with your own declaration that's maybe a little bit more specific to your situation, that's great too. But we'd absolutely suggest that tiny baby step of I am loved. And that will build off of having noticed the negativity that you feed yourself, those negative thoughts that come in. We would love to hear about any of your experiences, either with identifying and becoming aware of how negative thoughts want entrance into your life.
Right.
And we'd also love to hear about how you looked at challenges in your life and came up with declarations. I think it's very powerful at times to share how we feed ourselves the positive, because that can inspire someone else to realize, oh, that's what I can say to myself in those moments. And so if you're willing to share, that would be great. You can reach out and share those either in our Facebook comments. You, of course, can private message us if you'd rather keep it private, and we can share it without a name or a made-up name, because we're famous for doing that. You can also email at jackie.sorensen@gmail.com. That's JACQUE.SORENSON@gmail.com.
Yes. So we're really happy that you were able to join us today. We hope that you will feel a little greater measure of hope and peace in your life from this conversation, that you'll feel supported, and even that you'll feel loved. So I am Jackie Sorensen.
And I'm Amy Rasmussen. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
And as Gandhi said, in a gentle way, you can shake the world. Take good care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.